All right, so thanks. Got to do an impromptu stream because I thought I could do this offline, edit it later, but it won't let me. So I had to figure out how to do that. Either way, there's an article that came out from uh, Bozos into Comics that, of course, is one of those EU pieces where no one does any study whatsoever. It came out yesterday. Believe it or not, this one, I found on my own. Now, a few of you have commented on it, asked me, or sent it to me, asked me to comment on it. I always plan to do that. I wanted to do in a video. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for you, I have to do this live. So, oh boy, here we go. So let's get into it. First off, here we are, bounding into a brick wall. Says former Lucasfilm director of publishing, Lucy Autry Wilson, reveals George Lucas informed her the Emperor would never have been cloned. Now, let's talk about a few things here. First off, Lucy Autry Wilson has been with Lucasfilm since the very beginning. She rose up to this position of Lucasfilm Director of Publishing in 1989 and retired in 2010. I love when people already, the title here has you rolling your eyes, right? Because it wasn't from George Lucas didn't say it, but someone heard George Lucas say it. I always like how we report on secondhand information. You know how many times Filoni has told us how many times George said that he was the greatest, he was the best, his stuff is better than George's stuff and stuff like that. They say this all the time. And so automatically your title is secondhand hearsay of what someone else may have said. So obviously the guy who wrote this, John F. Trent does not like episode 9, I'm assuming, and he really doesn't like the expanded universe. Let's just look over this a little bit. Of course, former director of publishing Lucy Autry Wilson recently revealed that Star Wars creator George Lucas informed her that the Emperor never would have been cloned. Never would have been cloned. She said first in a series about the expanded universe, Wilson shared her opinion that the expanded universe was never meant to be canon. She goes, our expanded universe, books, comics were never intended to be canon. Only what George wrote was canon. I am so glad that we found someone who is saying the exact opposite of what every employee has said about the expanded universe for the last 35 years. You got one person speaking the exact opposite. Folks, as anyone would know, as you know, John Trent would know if he did just a little bit of research, that George never mentioned the word canon, ever, in any of his quotes. He talks about there's his story, his 6 movies, that's his story. Then there's Lucasfilm's story, and then there's the fan fiction. He called them 3 levels. He called them the Holy Trinity or whatnot. But he was never beholden to the story that Lucasfilm put forth. And everyone admitted that. Lucasfilm admitted that. George knew that too. No one's saying that what Lucasfilm put out was greater than George's. But it was all in one continuity, and it was canon. How do we know that? Oh my goodness. There are literally decades worth of quotes of Lucasfilm employees stating the word canon. Shall we just give just a little bit of them again? First, let's go to Peter Swaffenheimer from the Star Wars Galaxy Collector, #1, first issue, February 1998. I use this one because this is the newest one I've seen lately on it. But Peter says that everything that is approved by Lucasfilm is official. No matter how small the contribution, we added it to the well. All right, now here's the thing. A lot of people use the word official. There's dozens of quotes that I could pull up where Lucasfilm says, yes, this is the official story of Star Wars. This is the official continuation of Star Wars, right? And they've said that for years, which is why when they had to decanonize it by calling it Legends, which this article does say, this article says, oh, when they made that announcement that it was Legends, it was already non-canon. We just wanted to tell everyone that it still isn't canon. I mean, John Trent seems to accept this fact without even questioning it, even though it makes 0 sense why Lucas would, if it wasn't considered canon by anyone, by Lucasfilm, by George, no one, then why bother with the announcement? Just say, hey guys, remember, EU was never canon. Nope, never even said that. Even in the announcement, they never said that. So, but of course, it doesn't fit Mr. Trent's narrative, so he's going to leave that fact out. Let's look at some other quotes, shall we? How about Sue Rustoni, the Lucas licensing editor, okay? Lucasfilm licensing editor. She said in the Star Wars Gamer issue #6, September 4th, 2001, Canon, she used the word canon, refers to an authoritative list of books that Lucas licensing editors consider to be an authentic part of the official Star Wars history. Oh, there we go again. But wait, later on, skipping down a little bit, she says the word canon again. Things that Lucas licensing does not consider official parts of the continuous Star Wars history show in Infinity's logo or are contained in the Star Wars tales. I hate that series. I'm so glad to hear her say that. Other than that, she says everything else is considered canon. There's the word canon. Doesn't surprise you because Lucasfilm employees keep using that word. But wait, there's more. Sue Rustoni, StarWars.com, May 30th, 2003. She said basically everything except those items marked with an Infinity's logo is considered canon. Again, the word is used, canon. Are you tired of me quoting Sue Rustoni? Let me give another one here. Leland Chi, StarWars.com, August 4th, 2004, was asked the question about G and C levels. Do they form a separate and independent canon? Each one is a different canon. She responded by stating they were both part of a single canon. He said there's one overall continuity. Again, Lucasfilm for the past 35 years was saying it was canon. They were using the word canon. Now, Lucy Wilson was, I don't know, maybe she was out all 30-something days when they happened to use the word canon in their own official magazines or on StarWars.com. I also love this, that she acts like it was so loosey-goosey back then when Dark Empire came out, which, by the way, was underneath her regime. If you look at the dates that she was in that position at Lucasfilm, and that she says George would never have approved that. Well, you know what? Tom Beach says something different. Tom Beach says, hey, now, it should be noted that we had feedback from Mr. Lucas on the plotting of Dark Empire. Do say, Tom. He says our original proposal was to bring Darth Vader's costume and mask with somebody else inside it. We felt that the Empire would want to maintain the fearsome image of Vader and wouldn't much care who was wearing the armor and the breathing mask. George vetoed the idea, although he did allow us to have Vader appear in dreams and memories. He said, no, you can't bring back the Vader costume, but if you can figure out how to bring the Emperor back, that's okay. To which they thought the obvious way to bring him back was with cloning. And Tom Beach says, which George immediately approved. He approved of that. George did. In fact, it's not just Tom. We can talk to Tom Beach, Cam Kennedy, Archie Goodwin, and Dave Dorman. Where is all this information? On StarWars.com. Unfortunately, Mr. Trent cannot look at StarWars.com to do research. On the 25th anniversary edition of Dark Empire, they basically repeat this story. All of these people, Cam Kennedy, Archie Goodwin involved with Tom Beach, says they felt that Star Wars was just taking a nap, waiting for a fresh injection of imagination. With that in mind, we took a leap of faith and we wrote a letter to Lucas. Not Lucasfilm, Lucas, who subsequently asked to see samples of their work. So, Lucas did know about it. Lucy Wilson must not remember that. And I don't know, you can misremember stuff. I'm just saying that. But like I said, now it's 4 people against 1 person about what happened here. Tom Beach goes on to share the exact same story that he did in the previous interview. His story hasn't changed. And so this time, he even mentions that Lucasfilm liked the concept that the Emperor was being cloned. Oh, imagine that. Well, that would have been Lucy Wilson, who was fine with it too. Now, you see, this is what I'm talking about. People like this who do not do their homework. They don't do their homework. They just put this piece up because they don't like the expanded universe. They don't like the Emperor being cloned. John F. Kent probably Trent. He probably hated, the cloned Emperor and Dark Empire, and he wanted to write this piece on it. He found someone finally, thankfully, that fit his narrative, and he put it in here with ignoring all the facts. And here's the fact. Here's the thing, John. You can't do this. I mean, you can. Most people will take your word for it. But if anyone, you better pray that no one does just a little bit of digging, and they'll find out this is completely a false narrative that you put up. Now, let me give you an example. It's fun to be right. We all want to be right. I can find a credible scientist who can tell me the Earth is flat. Okay? But then I would be ignoring all the other facts that the Earth is not flat. But I have it from a credible source. But you have one, which it looks like the overwhelming majority negates that. So he found one person that fits his narrative, and he's going to publish it the way he wants. He got what he wants. Good for you. Unfortunately, you're losing credibility. You don't have any integrity when it comes to reporting things like this. And I don't know what you're going to do here. You can apologize. Here's the thing. I wish that I had a quote from George Lucas saying, "I always considered the expanded universe my story too." Really, George? Okay. Even if I had a quote like that, though, you got to admit, it sounds kind of fishy, right? What was George talking about? Because every other time he talks about it, no, he wasn't that involved with the EU. A checklist is what we heard. Yes, no. Sometimes he'd write notes. He sent out letters to a lot of the authors, thanking them. I remember Cam Kennedy even said in an interview once that George Lucas would send him Christmas cards for a few years afterwards. Whether that was George or RoboSign, who knows, right? But I'm just saying, even if I had a quote where George said that he loved the expanded universe, it kind of goes again, or he followed it and read it all. Obviously he read the comic books. We know that because a billion people have verified that. But I read every book all the time. I'd love to see that, but it'd be doubtful because there's all these other arguments against. There's all these other quotes and facts against it. And when the facts are against you, you can do like John Trent does and, plug his fingers in his ears and hum a happy song. Or you can accept the fact and move on that you found what you found is untrue, And I hate this. This happens all the time. When I wrote an article one time, I submitted it with all my referrals, references, all my references on there. And the editor came back and said, "Matt, I can't find one of the quotes you quoted from this magazine. Can you help me out?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll double check that." Well, unfortunately, I did not have that magazine. You see, what I did is I saw 2 other articles on the expanded universe that quoted this type of quote from this magazine. And since that fit my story, I put it in there. I didn't have the magazine on me. I dug through where they were getting this quote. Finally, it kept linking to one link to another article, which linked to another article, which linked to an online chat of 2 people talking. And one person said, "Got the new issue of whatever, Star Wars Insider," and it said this. I was like, okay. So I went and bought that issue of Insider. Came in, looked over it. It's not in there. It was just made up. Some kid in a chat room made it up. Someone reported in their article as fact, and then someone else, and see how that works. Everyone starts reporting it and pretending it's fact, but no one does their homework. I was embarrassed because, again, it was the only magazine I did not have, but I just assumed it was correct. I wrote back to the editor. I apologized. I said, "Take it out. I did not do my due diligence studying it. I did buy the actual issue to run it through myself. Did not find it. I am sorry about that. My bad. I should never even quoted it." And that's what you got to do. I did not do my homework properly. I didn't. I learned a lesson right then and there. I don't want to be someone I don't want them to think that, oh, Matt's just going to make up quotes, pull them out of the air just to prove his point. No, that'll take away all credibility, all respect for me from my peers, and would damage my integrity, which I hold very dear. Obviously, they don't here under bumbling into comics. They don't do that here. So here's the fact, John. You can do 2 things right now. You can apologize to whoever runs, this Bozos into Comics and say, "Look, I'm sorry. I published an article that makes us look really bad, and it gets rid of all credibility we ever had for a website." Or maybe you can actually get on to your editor and say, "Hey, next time I write a fluff piece like this, maybe you'll come back and say, 'Hey, John, none of this matches up against the facts. I just want you to know that.'" Maybe you have to put an editor's note in there. Who is John F. Trent? Anyway, let's look at him here. Oh. Well, that's sad. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Just want to talk about, that one. It just, what you going to do, right? What you going to do? All right. I'll be back with a live stream later on. Just wanted to make this clip really quick and then move on. So thanks for joining.